Hey everybody, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Boston Straight Shooters. I'm your host for this evening, Steve, aka Negative Ned. Frank is away again on business, so we'll do our best to hold down the fort. This is the show where we talk about the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox, and we get you caught up to speed. What the goings on over the past week with them. Bear with me while I post the link so you guys can join the show. Glad to have you aboard, and I think we're going to start with. I think this week we're going to start with the Patriots, seeing as how they've been playing preseason games now, and they're wrapping up training camp for this week anyway. And they have a game tomorrow night, their last preseason game against the Giants. I don't think anybody expects the starters to play. This will be to mostly determine the roster bubble guys, so to speak, and see who's going to make the 53-man roster. I did mention before that I would get the cut down day. The cut down day is next Tuesday, the 26th. I believe everybody has to have their rosters finalized by 4 p.m. So I'm looking forward to see who's going to be the surprise cuts, and hopefully there'll be a few surprise additions staying. If you've seen my posts on the group, Efton Chisholm III is definitely a guy I think should make the roster after what he's been doing, and we're going to get into more of him later on and more about the cuts later, and who's staying and who's going. I'm going to circle back to that. Right now, we're going to talk about, and I want to talk about the win against Minnesota on Saturday. Odd time for a game, 1 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. I didn't get to see the whole game. I got to see bits and pieces. The part I did see, which was Travion Henderson getting another touchdown, that was excellent to see. That guy could be the steal of the draft, or at least a steal for the Patriots in general. He's really been impressive, and it's exciting to have a guy that's a game breaker, which they haven't had around. We haven't had around here for a long time. So very encouraged by him. The Patriots, first couple drives, they did drive down, and I think Drake May a little bit shaky to start the game, overthrew some guys. I've heard some comparisons on sports radio with some of the beat writers and whatnot talking about how they, he's a little bit like Brett Favre at the beginning of the game. He's kind of erratic, and then he settles in and gets better as the game goes on. Hopefully he can rectify some of that, because they can't afford mistakes early in the game. They just, I don't think we've seen yet how they would do playing from behind, but I don't want to find out the hard way. And he's got to get the shakes off, whatever it is, nerves, excitement, whatever. And you got to take advantage of your opportunities. And this is one case where last year the receivers weren't getting open. This preseason so far they are. And again, the other teams are not starting their starters. They're all, they're using second string guys. But any opportunity when the guys are actually getting open, you got to hit them. You can't boo-boo those. You can't airmail it over the guy's head. Pop Douglas is only 5'8" or 5'9". You can't miss him high. Even Mac Hollins, who's 6'4", had to go up and get a couple balls because, Drake threw it a little high on him. It's one thing when you're purposely trying to throw it high in a mismatch when, you got a Hollins who's 6'4" on a guy that's, shorter, say 6 feet. And it's a, jump ball kind of thing. But these balls, are like, you know, it's got like the ball's got air under it and it's sailing away on him. So he's got to find a way to minimize that. Um, you know, there was a play I saw broken down on ESPN where you know, the guy called out, said, "Hey, Drake May had, two guys pretty much wide open. One of them down the left sideline. I forget who it was, and the pocket broke down, and he skirted around to the right, and then he ended up hitting Mac Hollins for a 20-yard gain. It's a good play, but he's got to be able to read that. I mean, guy down the sideline on the left, pretty much would have had a touchdown or damn near it, just wide open. You got to take advantage of those. So hopefully he'll learn from these. That's what these games are for. And I don't believe he turned the ball over, so that's encouraging too. So that has to be a thing. I know in the joint practices against Minnesota earlier in the week, there were, some struggles we talked about beforehand, before the game came. And, I think that when the regular season starts, we're going to see those because, when you're playing against the top guys, it's not going to look as good as it did Saturday or the week before against Washington. I do say, though, the offensive line and the mistakes have been minimized by a lot. Even if it's against second-string guys, you still have to execute. You still can't have bad penalties. I mean, there was one false start penalty on one of the drives early in the game this week. But for the most part, it hasn't been like, gain 7 yards, give 5 back, gain 8 yards, give 5 back. They've been minimizing a lot of that stuff. So, and they've been really good in the run game, I will say, from what I've seen. It looks like the Patriots should be able to at least run the ball. And it's a Vrabel staple. We talked about, when he had Derrick Henry, they were a run-heavy team. They caught lightning in a bottle with Ryan Tannehill that one year when they went to the AFC Championship game. Other than that, once they lost A.J. Brown and he got traded to Philly, their offense was basically Derrick Henry and not much else. So I think that's kind of the way Mike Vrabel is trying to build this team is, we're going to run the ball. And look, we've been over this 1,000 times, and it happens every year. Every analyst, every TV show, every whatever podcast, we're all saying the same thing. The run sets up the pass. You get a couple, 3 or 4 yards on each first and second down. Give yourself a short yardage, on third down, and that sets up, some hopefully easy first down pickings. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do in the ground game, and then hopefully that will help them in the pass game. The offensive line still has issues. We're still hopping on this. We're still going to be hopping on this. It's not going to go away. Some of the things I've read and heard about Garrett Bradbury, the center, and Ben Brown and Jared Wilson at left guard. There's a mixed mash of things going on between those three particular guys in particular. About them getting beat. So, I mean, hopefully, again, they find a way to rectify that situation because I don't want to see the offensive line be like what it was last year and the year before. Last year in particular, when the guys were basically like turnstiles and, an orange cone out there getting beat. Just can't have it, regularly. It's going to happen, a few times in a game. Will Campbell, every week, I can already hear the sports radio guys the first time he gives up a sack to somebody good on that side. And they're, oh my God, he's the 4th overall pick. What a waste. He should be playing God, blah, 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 blah. I'm not quite there yet. You got to pump the brakes on this. You got to give the kid a chance. They don't, in my opinion, have a better option at left tackle. The other options that they have are guys that were here last year and they sucked. So I'm not ready to go down that path yet. Even after the first game, you can't do that. But they do need to play better, and hopefully they will. Overall in the game, from what I saw Saturday, the defense looks good again. They stalled a lot of Minnesota's drives. They held them to field goals. They got a couple interceptions, and again, and the special teams looks good too. I mean, we've been saying it, and again, take it with a grain of salt. It's against the other team's second and third unit guys, but the outfit looks better. It looks more cohesive. It's less mistakes. And I've noticed this, the additions that they've made on defense, the defense looks faster. Looks faster than it has in a while, which is good because they're going to need that. Stating the obvious, their health, they have to stay healthy. And the way they've been playing too is, without Christian Gonzalez starting at cornerback in any of these games, and Carlton Davis playing minimally due to injury. When you get those two guys back healthy in week 1, hopefully Gonzalez will stay healthy the whole year like he did last year. I mean, he's a top 10 shutdown cornerback, in my opinion. He's been playing. He is a guy that we haven't had in a while, probably since Stephon Gilmore. I'll go on record as saying that right now. I mean, he's a guy that, in a couple of years, if he stays healthy and whatnot, when his rookie contract comes up, they're going to wind up paying him. They're going to have to shell out the door for that guy and give him $25, $30 million bucks. Oh, I hope he's gone. And that would be a shame. Especially if, a few years from now, hopefully things are going the way we want them to go and they're winning, multiple double-digit wins, 10, 12 wins in a year, make the playoffs. And he's a part of that. That's a guy you got to keep, just like they did in the early 2000s when they had Ty Law and so forth. So, I'm looking forward to seeing him back. I'm looking forward to seeing, what the defense is going to look like with everybody out there all at once, regularly. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the offense is going to look like with Steph Diggs in there. Obviously, we're all waiting for that. He's looked good so far. The reports are like he's ahead of schedule or whatever. So yet to be seen. He's definitely not playing this week. But I have a concern, which I think a lot of the writers and whatnot have, and sports guys around here. Josh Dobbs as the backup guy. His numbers were decent, 11 of 16. But he had a chance on 4th and goal early in the game at the end of the first quarter to hit. Who did he miss? Javon Baker, and missed him. As well as missing some other throws. Last week he missed a bunch of throws too, to some guys that were wide open. So he's another guy that's got to clean up himself a little bit. The third string guy looks like a keeper. Hopefully they can stash him on the practice squad. Ben Woolridge. He's looked pretty good. I mean, I think he was only 7 of 13 the other day, but he looks like he could be a good backup. So I want to see a little bit more out of Dobbs. Maybe he'll start this week, and we'll see what he's got. But um, damn, I wish they didn't trade Joe Milton now. You know, you could potentially have Joe Milton as a number 2 guy here. And I haven't followed what he's done in Dallas closely enough to know where he's at on their depth chart, but I will get that for next week's show, because by then they should have already also played their 3rd game, and he should be playing in it. I wouldn't expect Dak Prescott to be playing. As far as the Patriots, the guys that are on the bubble, like I said, cut down days next week. It's on Tuesday. I have a funny feeling, based on the information I saw earlier, the Patriots have made Kyle Duggar and Anthony Jennings, linebacker, available for trade. And whether or not they were able to trade those guys remains to be seen. I have a funny feeling that, Kyle Duggar's got a $14 million price tag on him. I don't know if anybody's willing to trade anything, even a 7th-round pick, for a guy that's quote-unquote declining around here, and he's going to get cut. I see somebody picking him up and, taking him on for a cheaper salary. The Patriots will absorb the salary cap hit this year, which they can easily do. It's not a big deal. And it's unfortunate because a couple of years ago, he was one of their best players on defense. I think injuries last year really hampered him a lot. He did try to play through them. And I may or may not have said this last week, the guys that try to play hurt, sometimes, they do it and it's a detriment to them and the team. And I think that's the case here with Duggar. And it's one of those things where it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. These guys make a lot of money. So, on one hand, you'll have, the negative Nellies or negative Neds, whatever. They'll be like, well, he's making a boatload of dough. Why can't he play hurt? There's that camp. And so if the guy plays hurt, then he sucks. And he's like, why is he playing hurt? He sucks. Like, you can't have both ways. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. Either he sits out and gets 100% healthy, and then you dump on him because he's sitting out making $14 million a year, or he tries to suck it up and do what he thinks is right, and it doesn't work. And so either way, those guys don't win. I think depending on the severity of the injuries, they should sit out until they're 100% healthy. A knee, torn meniscus, sprained knee, a turf toe, whatever. Like there's some things that, you can't play through. A separated shoulder, something like that. They pop it back in, you put a brace on. I don't know. Maybe you can play through it in a couple of weeks. You don't need 8 weeks to get through that. But I just think that, you just can't have it both ways. You can't croak the guy for trying and then croak him for sitting out. The baseball guys, it's easy to pick on, and not to switch gears here, but they get a hangnail and they're like, oh, I can't pitch anymore. It's like, really, guy? Okay, whatever. But nonetheless, I think that, I heard that Kyle Duggar is like taking reps with the practice squad. He's not even on like the 2nd or 3rd unit now. So it doesn't bode well for him. I don't see him making the cuts. And Jennings, I don't know a lot about what happened to him, but apparently he must not fit the style that the coaching staff is implementing. And so maybe they could get something for him. Maybe he has some kind of value. And we'll see what happens. Let's see. Danny just tuned in. Thank you for tuning in. The hockey players play through just about anything. Yes, I would agree with that. And again, not to cross sports too much, but I want to say it was 2013 when the Bruins played Chicago Blackhawks, when it came out afterwards that, Patrice Bergeron was playing with like a ruptured spleen and a separated shoulder and a broken this and broken that. He had like 3 or 4 like major. I don't even know how he was breathing. Never mind playing hockey. They definitely, a guy recently in the last few years got 75 stitches across his head, down like from here down, and came back and had like a face shield on. It was back on the bench, within a few shifts or whatever. So those guys are just those guys are nuts. The things that they do to keep playing. But football's a little bit different. I mean, if you have some type of knee thing or a toe thing or a foot thing or an ankle or whatever, I mean, you're trying to run at full speed, and in that league, if you ain't at least 90 to 95%, you're not going to do nothing. So sometimes they're better off just sitting out. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to see, some of the lower string guys and see, the bubble guys and see who's going to make it and who's not. We'll probably have a better idea. We'll probably have a pretty good idea by the weekend. I mean, probably won't even take until Tuesday for them to cut guys off. I mean, the roster's at 90 now. The roster is at 90 right now, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think that some guys will probably get lopped off earlier to give them a chance to catch on with some other teams. That's typically what they would do when they had multiple cut down days. If they knew that they weren't going to use guys after the second preseason game, and they had to get down to like 75 or whatever it is, then they would cut certain guys, even veterans, so that they could catch on with somebody else. And something too that just dawned on me, when everybody makes their cuts, I'm curious to see if there's anybody going to be available that the Patriots can grab as far as offensive line, because I want to see if they can make any upgrades there. Anything. Are there any veteran guys that could be of use to them? A left tackle, a left guard. Those are 2 spots I would definitely be identifying. Another thing, I'm not sure why Cole Strange has fallen so far off the depth chart that he's not even getting reps at left guard, which he was playing before. So I don't know where he fits. That's a little bit concerning to me that a guy like Ben Brown has leapfrogged him. It's not a concern that the rookie has leapfrogged him, because that's what you draft them for. They're young guys, and they're supposed to be able to adjust, and you want that upside in there. So looking forward to that. That being said, let's switch gears. We're going to switch gears and talk about the Red Sox. The Red Sox are a bunch of hurting units right now. They have reverted back to the last few Augusts. All of a sudden, they have sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. They have lost 8 of their last 12. They've lost 3. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They've fallen to second in the wild card race now. They're behind the Yankees by a game or 2. The Yankees are surging, and it's typical August. The Red Sox have to go to Yankee Stadium starting tomorrow for a 4-game series, and they're in the middle of a freaking slump. I don't know. It so feels like last year again. And I'll have to go back now to last weekend's series against the Florida Marlins. They won the first two games. Sunday, Garrett Crochet, the ace, gives you 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. He's got a 3-1 lead. Bullpen comes. Actually, let me go back. Let me go back to Saturday. Saturday, they get a good start, and they get a 5-run lead at 7-2, and they bring in Isaiah Campbell, and he can't hold the lead, and you have to bring in Aroldis Chapman to close the game out, get the last out, so you don't blow the game. So there's a waste of an opportunity to rest him, so you can have him available for Sunday. Because now he's pitching 2 days in a row. You can't pitch him 3 days in a row. His freaking arm will fall off. So that gets screwed up. And I'm going to get to Isaiah Campbell in a minute. So then Sunday, Crochet pitches 7 innings, saves the bullpen's arms, whatever. Bullpen comes in, blows the freaking lead. They blow the game. They lose 5-2 or 5-3 or whatever the hell it is. Excuse me, and instead of sweeping them and giving yourself more breathing room heading into these last 2 games against the Orioles, you lose that game. You lose Chapman, the ability to use him in that game Sunday, and then you get to Monday and Tuesday, and you get spanked Monday. The guy they had going is basically their ace. Throws like, I don't know, 6 or 7 innings, 1 run, I guess. They ended up losing the game like 6-2 or 6-3. I forget the score now off the top of my head. But just dismal. And the Orioles are in last place. They're in last place for a reason. They sold off like half their guys at the deadline. These are the games we discussed earlier when they played Washington and Cincinnati after the break, and Colorado, sorry. When they beat those teams and they swept them or whatever. And it's like, you got to win these games. You needed to win 4 out of 5 in these last 2 series, not lose 3 out of 5. That's bad. And lose 3 in a row. And why in the bloody blue bleep is Isaiah Campbell anywhere near this roster? Dude should be DFA'd. Today they sent him to Worcester. I don't know why he's still here. He sucks. He's terrible. He's done nothing in 2 years. DFA him. Get rid of him. They bring in Richard Fitz to be in the bullpen now, who was kind of trying to start. I don't know. I think I'd rather see Cooper Criswell back here. Last outing, 7 innings. He can be the long relief guy if you need. He's stretched out. I would put him. Walker Buehler goes 4 innings or 3 2/3 innings. Okay, Cooper Criswell, go in. Give me a couple innings. Give me 3 innings. Instead, I don't know who the long inning guy is now. You got no guy. Now you got to use one guy every inning or every 2 batters or whatever, the 3 batters, whatever the hell it is. I don't know what they're doing. I don't get it. I felt like earlier in the year, like, especially when they were winning, like guys had the set roles. Now it's like, they should have an 8th inning guy. Who is that guy? If it's Whitlock, he needs to stay as the 8th inning guy. Stop bringing him in the 6th and 7th inning. You're jumbling the guys all around. Greg Wiesert, why is that bum still here? He can't close. He can't pitch late. He's a 6th or 7th inning guy. Don't put him in the 8th and 9th inning. I'm sick of seeing that. You use Whitlock first, then you use Wiesert, then you lose. Like, how about no? Put Wiesert in the 6th inning, 7th inning, where he's more effective. And then put Whitlock in the 8th, even 9th, 10th, 11th, whatever. If he loses it, then he loses it. I'd feel better with him there than these other bums. It's just driving me nuts. They finally put him in the pen where he belongs, and now they're not using him right. And, as far as the hitting goes, they're in a slump and a half. I mean, they're 3 for their last 28. with runners in scoring position in the last 3 games. That's brutal. When they were winning, they were getting the hits. They were getting the timely hits. They were getting the hits with runners in scoring position. I feel like they had changed their approach. Now they're back striking out 8, 9 times a game. Their at-bats don't look the same. They look, I don't know, they look lifeless again. They look like they're just going through the motions. They're up there swinging at crap in the dirt, crap outside. They're swinging at junk. It's like, what are you guys doing? You know, I thought that I really did think that they had that situation rectified somewhat, and now it's right back where it was. You know, the game last night, just horrendous. I mean, you had the bases loaded, 3 innings in a row, 8th inning, 9th inning, 10th inning, 8th inning, bases loaded, no outs, no runs. 9th inning, they picked up Nathaniel Lowe off of waivers from Washington, right? You know, guy's got some pop. I mean, he wasn't hitting, you know, 215 or whatever with Washington, but he had 16 homers. Comes up in the 9th inning, hits a 2-run homer, ties the game. And then after that, the bases are loaded, and you don't get anybody home. Terrible. You know, I mean, the home run that guy hit, 441 feet. That thing was a blast. You know, and Trevor Story, for as good as he's been, his numbers, I think, are deceiving. He hits good before the 7th inning and knocks in runs and stuff. I think from the 7th inning on, he doesn't do much. So it's wicked frustrating. You know, he's got to come through better when this guy's on base. All of them do. And again, I don't understand Cora. This is one thing that befuddles me. You get this guy Lowe, who's a Gold Glove first baseman, and the lineup comes out, and he's at DH, and Toro's at first. Another guy. Why is Toro even on this team? Why is he in the lineup? Get him out of here. Ship his ass to Worcester. Lowe should have been playing first base yesterday. I'm sorry. I don't care if he's new. I don't care if he rolled in 2 minutes before the game. His ass should have been at first base. And Toro, you know, to see him up with the bases loaded and 2 outs and then 1 out and ground into a double play and kill the rally is like awful. You know, the guy's hitting like $150 over the last like 2 months. Get him out of here. You know, he doesn't need to be here anymore. I'm done seeing him. You know, in those 3 innings last night, the 8th, 9th, and 10th innings alone, the Red Sox were 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position and left 13 men on base. I mean, that's putrid. That's ridiculous. This is bad. I don't know where they're going, but they better fix it because they're in danger of falling out of the race. And right now they're on pace for 86 or 87 wins, which means they might not make the 88 wins I said they were going to make. And even like I said before, the 88 might be enough to make the playoffs. I mean, the way the teams are playing and the way everybody's all close with each other, they're in a group with about 4 teams: the Yankees, the Red Sox, Seattle, and I think Kansas City and Cleveland. They're all kind of in the same ballpark as far as like, you know, being in that like 85 to 90 win range. And so they have 36 games left, and they got to win 20 of them to get to 88 wins. So they need to win. I think they need to win 20 to 22 of those games coming up. And I just see disaster coming from them this weekend with the Yankees. I don't This is extremely frustrating. And you know what? I was talking to some coworkers about this because we talk about early on in the year, everybody gets all geeked up in May and June when they beat the Yankees and they sweep them and all this crap. That's like, yeah, but in August they can't beat them. So I don't remember where I saw this, but since 2019, the Red Sox record versus the Yankees in August is 5-14 at Fenway Park and like 4-20 at New York. So they've won 9 games and lost like 34 in a 5-year span against the Yankees in August. They get swept. They lose 3 or 4. You know, I don't. This happens every single year. And this, again, is starting to feel like the previous years where they fell into a bad slump and they dove off. They dove off a cliff, and they go like 8-23 for the month of August, and they fall out of the race or something like that. And look, I hope I'm wrong. I hate being the negative Ned guy, but I got to call it like I see it. Right now, the way they're pitching, look, their bullpen, I saw some numbers today that shocked me. I didn't realize that the Red Sox have the third best bullpen ERA in the major leagues at 3.46. When I watch these games getting blown like this, and I watch Isaiah Campbell and Jordan Hicks and these bums coming in here giving up these runs, I'm shocked that their ERA is that low, and it's among the best in the league. But they need to rectify this quickly, and they got it. Walker Buehler, I don't know what to do with that guy. He can't keep giving you 4 innings. I don't know how much rope they're going to give this guy. Again, I would put him in the pen. I'd put him in the pen. I bring up Cooper Criswell, and I put him in his spot. They keep rolling Walker Buehler out there. He has 2 good starts, then 2 crappy starts. Then he might have 1 good start and then 2 or 3 crappy starts. The 4 innings, 4 2/3, like, dude, those are not working anymore. I don't know why they don't pull the plug, but they should. They need to. And so look, they have a stretch where they're playing the Yankees next, and I think then they do get like easier teams to play against. I heard Pittsburgh is on the horizon. I know Baltimore, they have a 4-game series in Baltimore after the Yankees. So look, you got a chance to rectify these 2 losses you just had, and see if you can fix that. But man, they're killing me. They are killing me. And they had a chance in the 11th inning last night, and this is a huge deal now. So they got the ghost runner on second base, which Frank hates. He doesn't like the ghost runner. I kind of like it in the regular season because you don't want to see 18-inning games. Nobody wants to see those. No one's staying awake on a freaking Tuesday night to watch 13, 14, 18 innings of baseball. I like the ghost runner thing in the regular season. Get these games over with. No, I didn't see this obviously because it was past my bedtime. But I heard all the scuttlebutt today about them. They had Nathaniel Lowe was the ghost runner. Connor Wong bunted him over to third so they can manufacture a run, so that if they get a sac fly, they can try and drive him in. So Roman Anthony hits a fly ball to center field, and it's kind of shallow, and they start to send the runner to the plate, and the third base coach stopped him, and the throw was way off. It was like if you could picture the baseline between third and home. The throw was like in the middle of the line and off towards the dugout. I mean, it was way off. It wasn't even close. There was no way that he was going to get caught. But the third base coach stopped him, and when they asked him about it after the game, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact quote, but he kind of said like, "Hey, look, all the work that we did before, told us not to run on this guy's arm. This guy's got an impact arm. And so then they asked Cora, and he basically said the same thing. He's like, look, the scouting that we did before the series told us not to run on this guy. He's got an impact arm, and we didn't want to risk having the runner get thrown out the plate, blah, blah. Like, okay. So that means that you guys used the analytics and the computer again instead of using the eyeball test, which I've been hopping on for how long now? All season long? I mean, the one thing that the analytics doesn't take into account any game situations. It doesn't take into account the human feel for the game. It doesn't take into account, runner on third, one out, sack fly. What's the probability of that guy making it? Now listen, I've been on here for years talking about when the Red Sox would send the slow guys. I can't tell you how many times, I forget the damn third base coach's name, but David Ortiz would be on third, and they try to run him and send him in, and he gets thrown out by a freaking mile and a half. And I'm like, he's too slow. You're not being fair to him. Don't do that. You're stupid. I get that, right? If you don't have Duran, Jacoby Ellsbury from back in the day, Saddam Raphael, if you don't have these kind of speeds, David Hamilton, those kind of guys, yeah, it's an automatic. Send them. I guarantee if Duran was on third, they would have sent him. If Raphael was on third, they probably would have sent him. Now, according to what I heard, Lowe is in like the top 5% as far as like fast guys in the league. And I think he's like 16 of 17 in steals. Now, he's not a stolen base guy, speed runner per se. And so all the scuttlebutt is like, look, this guy has speed. You should have sent him. And then, of course, there's the flip side of that is that, okay, yeah, you send him. Then he gets thrown up by a mile. Then you piss and moan that they shouldn't have sent him. So, again, this is like what I said about the guys playing injured earlier. It's damned if you do and damned if you don't. And the other thing is you had Alex Bregman coming up, who's hitting 300. And so, what if he gets thrown out the plate? Then you got Bregman up there with nobody on. So I kind of get where they came from as far as not sending the runner. I'm not as upset about that as the sports radio guys were, and other people I've heard and read stuff. Listen, you have to be able to judge the speed of the guys, especially, look, I'll say this, I don't care if he came to the park 2 minutes before the game, but if they haven't seen a lot of tape on him on how he is on the base paths and whatnot, then you really can't judge. Although I would say if they were doing their due diligence before they picked him up, with all these analytic, 300 analytic idiots you're telling me that one or two of them couldn't have rolled the tape on a bunch of his games and said, okay, what's this guy look like at first base trying to steal? How does he run the bases? Blah, blah. They would have to have that information for situations like that, where if you really wanted to send him, you would know whether or not he has the wheels or not to get there, right? But again, I'm not as upset as many others because I would hate to see if he got thrown out. And, the uproar around here would be, oh, my God, you shouldn't have sent him. Oh, you're stupid. So they're stupid they didn't send him. They're stupid if they did. They don't win either way. I'm fine with them not sending him. But if you really wanted to use the numbers and use the analytics, I did hear this, and I don't have it exact because I heard it, but I don't have this exact. So the metrics I heard on the radio today, sports radio, was that the runners have a 50% chance of scoring. I would say that's legit for most of the guys, unless you're talking about, the super arms out in the outfield that really throw runners out that you're not going to run against. I'll use Dwight Evans from back in the day. Nobody did run on that guy, 8-time Gold Glove guy, arm like a cannon. But The runners are sent 90% of the time on fly balls to center field, and they score 97% of the time. So if that's the metric and it's accurate, then technically they should have sent Nathaniel Lowe on that play if they were strictly going by the computer. So I don't know what the hell they're doing there. I'm tired of the analytics anyway. I can't stand it. So I'm totally against all that nonsense. I don't like it. And, I understand that the pre-series scouting. So does that mean that, I mean, I really felt for a little while Alex Cora was poo-pooing a lot of that crap and just throw it in the garbage right here. I'm going to manage the team the way I want. That's how I'm going to see it. I'm going to go by feel like I usually do. No, now you're telling me that he still gets the paperwork from the nerds upstairs and has to look at it and be like, well, we can't do it. The guys upstairs, the analytics said no. You can't run on them. Are you freaking kidding me? Dude, you're in a playoff race. I'm telling you, I would fight with those people every single day. If we have to have a freaking steel cage match upstairs in this freaking 600 club, that's what I would do. I would go up there and be like, look, you guys keep feeding me this crap. We're trying to win games. We want to make the playoffs. You guys don't want to make the playoffs. We're going to the steel cage right now. Whoever wins, we'll go with who wins. That's it. I would overrule those guys, period. I would go to Breslow's office and tell him the same thing. Listen, stop sending me this crap. I'm managing here so we can get in the playoffs unless you don't want to make the playoffs. Just tell me you don't want to make the playoffs, and I'll just read the sheet. And I'll sit there like a statue, like a robot. And that's what these managers feel like. And he's not the only one. They're all in the same boat. They all kind of do the same thing. The analytics are overruling everything. The eyeball test doesn't work. And I'll go back to Isaiah Campbell. If you have to use that guy, immediately as soon as he enters the game, somebody has to be warming up in the bullpen. So that by the time he faces the three guys he's going to face, mandatory, if he's crapping out, he's getting the hook. I'm not waiting until he gives up 4 runs or whatever. I'm not doing that. He's got his 3 guys, and if 2 of them get on or whatever, then gone. I got my next guy warmed up already. That's a mistake too that I want to see from Cora. When the guys don't have it, Jordan Hicks comes in, and the game is within reach, and 2 guys gets on. You better already have somebody else warming up in the pen and bring them in and be prepared. Because these guys are like yo-yos. One game the guy throws a clean inning. Next game he comes out, he gives up a 2-run homer. It's like, you don't even know what the hell you're getting from these guys. It's terrible. So I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this weekend. I hope I'm wrong, but it's not looking good. All right, I gotta watch the time now. I'm gonna shift gears, and we are actually going to talk about the Celtics a little bit. There is some news. The Celtics signed. Give me half a second to pull up who they signed here. They signed some guys. They signed 1, 2, 3. They signed 4 guys to Exhibit 10 contracts. Of course, Frank is not here to help me explain these contracts. So what is an Exhibit 10 contract? Contract is not guaranteed, meaning the team can waive the player without financial penalty. Those contracts are typically two-way contracts. If the player is waived and then joins the team's G League, they can earn a bonus between $5,000 and $75,000 after spending 60 days there. It can also be converted into a 2-way contract before the regular season starts, which makes sense if you wanted to put a guy with the Celtics G League team. And it says that so what these contracts do is it allows them to evaluate players before the regular season starts without making long-term commitment. And it doesn't count against the salary cap until they actually sign them. And NBA teams are allowed to have up to 6 Exhibit 10 contracts at a time. Now, I don't know if they already filled the other 2 spots with these kind of contracts. I just know about these 4 guys. There is one guy out of these 4 that they signed that intrigues me a little bit. Ron Harper Jr., his father played back in the 80s and 90s. I remember him when he played on the Bulls, won some championships with Michael Jordan. He was a guard. I think he was a shooting guard. He was pretty good. He wasn't like, top 10 or whatever, but, good for what they needed. And his son looks like was on the Celtics. I didn't realize he was on the main Celtics. He's joined the Celtics in the summer league. He joined the main Celtics in October of 2024. He got waived, and then he signed with Detroit's G League team in January of 2025, and he set the record for the most 3-pointers in a single game for the Motor City Cruise by making 11 of 18 3-point attempts. That's insane. 18 in a game. And I'm going to take a wild stab and say that that's part of the reason the Celtics brought him in is because of the 3-point shooting. And look, maybe he sticks and maybe it works. I don't know. They got nothing to lose. If that's how they're going to do it and they're going to keep throwing up freaking 50 and 63s a game, and this guy can make 11 out of 18, or if he can make, whatever, I'm guessing that that's what they're thinking. And so, more power to them if that's the direction they want to go in. Excuse me, I'm not a fan of the threes, as you've heard me complain on here numbers of times, and I'll still complain. That's too many. I just think that the threes are overtaking the game, and it's making the game more boring. But that's a rant we've had already. I'm not going to get into that anymore. We'll save that for the regular season after the Celtics lose by chucking up 63s and they lose by 2 points in October or November or whatever it is. All right. I do have one other thing I want to touch on before we get to the poll questions. Let me find it. Here. I did say last week I would try to get some information on the Bruins preseason schedule. It looks like training camp starts probably around the 2nd or 3rd week of September, and their exhibition season starts their preseason starts on September 21st. Their first game is against Washington Capitals. And then the rest of their schedule, they have the Rangers, the Flyers back-to-back. Then they play the Capitals and then the Rangers again to close out their preseason. And then they open the regular season October 8th at the Washington Capitals. So, again, nothing really going on with them. Charlie Jacobs was on WEI yesterday. They had the Jimmy Fund telethon there, and he was on there making his yearly donation. And he said that he thought that the team was going to surprise some people. So he's drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't know about that. I'll reserve further comment for later on because I kind of know how that's going to go, and so do you. So we don't need to expound any further. All I know is that keep an eye out and another month for the Bruins to start. So there's really nothing going on with them. That being said, we're going to wrap up that and move on to the poll questions. Let's see. Where are you? Okay. Do you like the addition of first baseman Nathaniel Lowe? The Red Sox made. We had bring on the playoffs. 0. Another dumpster dive move. 0. I'm surprised at that. Can't hurt, I guess, 100%. So I think there's a slight optimism. Most people are like, all right, it can't hurt. And I say he's got to be an upgrade over Toro. He has to be. I can't stomach any more games with him over there. And Romy Gonzalez, I can't stand either one of them being there. I can't stand either one of them being in the field at all. I can't stand Gonzalez at first or second base. I'm done with him too. But first base, this kind of reminds me of when they traded Nomar and they got Minkiewicz and put him at first, and it stabilized the defense there. I'm hoping that's the case. Get a guy that can actually field the position, regardless if he hits 210 or not. The glove, the errors, the not being able to scoop a ball, those things are really grating at me with the guys they have there. So I'm hoping this guy pans out. All right, next poll question. Do you think undrafted free agent wide receiver Efton Chisholm III will make the Patriots 53-man roster? Yes, he's earned a spot, 75%. No, still needs to prove it, 0. And maybe need to see some more, 25%. I'm in the earned a spot camp. I've seen enough of him. He should be on the team. Again, he's not going to be, in the starting lineup. But, as a punt returner, I could see him being a punt returner. I could see him, maybe even kickoffs. And definitely, if you wanted to spread the field and put 4 or 5 guys out there and use him and Pop Douglas as the 2 slot guys, I could see that. He's quick. He gets open. And I got no problem. With him making the team. The other stiffs that they draft, Jalen Polk's done nothing. He's out hurt. And Javon Baker, again, for a guy that said, I make people stand up in wheelchairs, I haven't seen anybody stand up yet. So good luck with that, buddy. Efton Chisholm, bring him on. All right, let's move on to last week's predictions. I think you guys know how this is going to go because that's usually how it goes. We'll see here. I said, come on, you. I said that the Red Sox would win 4 out of 5. Wrong. Par for the course. They put the egg on my face. Bastards. Number 2, I said the Patriots would lose to Minnesota. Wrong. They did a good job this week. Proved me wrong. So there's that. I said the Patriots defense would pick off J.J. McCarthy before finding out that he wasn't going to start. So I said that they would pick off the starting quarterback, who ended up being Sam Howell. So ding, ding, ding. I finally got one right. He did throw a pick early in the game. So I got one right finally again. Number 4, I said Trevion Henderson would get another long game, but not a touchdown. Wrong. He got a touchdown on the opening drive or the second drive, whatever. And actually, I think it was the opening drive. 7-0 lead. Again, excited about him. Looking for big things. He's going to be fun to watch. As for this week's upcoming predictions, I have, again, Frank, bear with me. I know that they're not earth-shattering or whatever, blah, blah, but at least I got more than one. Red Sox lose 3 or 4 to the Yankees. That's not going to be a surprise to anybody, but I'm not putting 4 out of 5 wins anymore. They burned me twice in a row now. So I'm not doing that. I think the Patriots are going to cut Cole Strange. I said this a few weeks ago. It hasn't happened yet, but I have a funny feeling he's going to be gone. And they're going to get somebody else, another left guard or another left tackle to replace him. I think Kendrick Bourne goes to the IR with the return designation so they can keep him without cutting him. He hasn't seen a lot of action in the preseason. I don't know if he's dinged up or not, but I could see them kind of saving him for later on. Anthony Jennings gets traded, but Kyle Duggar gets cut because I don't think anybody's going to give up draft capital for Kyle Duggar and his $14 million salary. So that's my thoughts on how those two guys are going to go. And I have Efton Chisholm and Javon Baker are both going to make the roster. Efton Chisholm, obvious reasons I just stated. And Javon Baker has been making an impact on special teams. That's where he's going to fit and make the roster. That's not going to be his wide receiver. So those are my thoughts on it. I don't have anything else. That's the show. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the support. Thanks for voting in the polls. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And we'll see you all next week.